Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into what might just be the ultimate do-over. Picture this. The Straw Hat Pirates have finally stormed the Holy Land of Marijuas. It's the final war against Emu, and the walls are literally closing in. In a desperate split-second moment, Roronoa Zoro takes a fatal blow meant for his captain, because, well, that's what he always does, right? But instead of everything going dark, the darkness suddenly fades into the smell of old hardwood and rice. Zoro opens his eyes, and he's sitting right there on the floor of the Isshin Dojo. He's exactly 8 years old again. But here's the kicker. He has his entire memory, his complete post-time skip arsenal, and his endgame haki completely intact. What happens next? It literally changes the entire One Piece universe forever. Let's get into it. So what if Zoro remembered absolutely everything? Think about it. Imagine having the mind of a master swordsman, a guy fully capable of unleashing that terrifying King of Hell technique, but you're trapped in a child's body, a body that simply doesn't have the physics or the muscle mass to swing a real sword yet. I mean, muscle memory is physical, it's not just mental. Zoro knows exactly how to shatter a mountain, but his tiny 8-year-old arms can barely even hold a wooden bakken steady. So he's got this monumental task ahead of him. He has a near 10-year head start before Luffy ever sets sail, and he has to micro-train his body to catch up to his incredibly advanced mind. Just consider the sheer magnitude of this reset. On one hand, you have the original timeline's tragic conclusion, dying to protect his captain in the throne room. On the other hand, you have this miraculous rebirth. Zoro gets a second chance to rebuild his strength totally from scratch. And he's not just rebuilding his muscles, right? He's armed with the knowledge of every single trap, every tragedy, and every heartbreaking loss his crew ever faced. He essentially has the ultimate cheat code to completely rewrite the tragedies of his past. So let's start with Section 1, a second chance at life. The very first thing he chooses to change alters the trajectory of his entire life, and honestly the world itself. Notice how effortlessly Zoro prevents the senseless accident that originally defined his entire existence. In the original timeline, we all know his greatest rival, Kuina, dies falling down a storage shed staircase. It's this freak accident that forced Zoro to carry her dream all by himself. But this time, guided by his advanced observation haki, he knows exactly where and when it's going to happen. As she slips, he's already right there. He catches her effortlessly before she ever hits the ground. In an instant, his deepest childhood trauma is totally erased, and Kuina is saved. Kuina survives, sure, but she very quickly realizes something impossible has shifted within Zoro. After noticing he's holding back in their spars, moving with this terrifying stillness that definitely doesn't belong to a kid, she understands his newfound strength. Recognizing that he's destined for something absolutely massive, she hands him the Wado Ichimonji directly, saying she's making a bet on him. But the best part? She doesn't quit. Instead, she decides to leave the village and join him on his quest to the top of the world. The lone wolf now has an equally lethal partner. Moving on to Section 2, Rewriting the East Blue. With a decade to kill before Luffy sets sail, the two prodigies really get to work, and their progress brilliantly illustrates his hyper-efficiency. Zoro and Kuina train relentlessly, but they purposefully keep their bounties low to avoid drawing an admiral's attention way too early. By the time they meet Luffy, they are just terrifyingly strong. I mean, think about this. Minute 1 in Orangetown, Buggy is bisected mid-air before he can even use his devil fruit. Hour 2 in Syrup Village, Zoro blitzes Kuro's entire crew with a silent Tatsumaki variant in under a minute. And by day 3, Zoro walks into Arlong Park completely alone, unleashes a 20% Ashura form, and cleanly cuts the park, and Arlong himself, right in half. He absolutely breezes through these early villains, perfectly positioning the crew for the Grand Line with 0 casualties. This foreknowledge completely changes the crew's dynamic too. Just take Whiskey Peak, for example. In the original canon, Zoro stays awake, fights off the Baroque Works bounty hunters, and ends up in that ridiculous, violent misunderstanding with a waking Luffy. But in this new reality, Zoro knows the food isn't actually poisoned. He just lets Luffy and the crew sleep soundly. When the bounty hunters attack, Zoro doesn't even draw his swords. He simply unleashes a highly controlled burst of Conqueror's haki, instantly knocking out 98 bounty hunters in absolute silence. It's clean, it's efficient, and Luffy never even has to wake up. That brings us to Section 3, Conquering the Grand Line. As we move into the Grand Line, Zoro's role really shifts from just being the crew's muscle to acting as a tactical genius. The crucial point here is that Zoro doesn't just fight harder, he fights smarter. He systematically dismantles the world government's traps. In Water 7, he tracks down Frankie early and just hands him the blueprints for the Thousand Sunny, completely accelerating their ship upgrade. At Eni's lobby, he doesn't waste time on a grueling sword fight with Kaku. Nope, using advanced armament, he delivers a single blunt force strike to Kaku's neck, completely bypassing his tech eye and knocking him out instantly. And Robin? Zoro uses observation haki to locate exactly where Spandam is dragging her, intercepting them effortlessly. He short-circuits CP9's entire operation without so much as unsheathing a sword. He even manages to change the crew's devastating first encounter with an admiral. Over at Long Ring Longland, Zoro knows Aokiji's arrival is a necessary wake-up call for the crew's growth, but he absolutely refuses to let Robin be traumatized or Luffy frozen solid. So when Aokiji attacks, Zoro and Kuina step in. They unleash this coordinated, advanced armament hockey strike that shatters the Admiral's ice instantly. Aokiji is stunned. He realizes immediately that this Worky crew is somehow already operating at Yonko commander levels, which actually forces him to retreat. Now for the ultimate high-stakes climax of this explainer, Section 4, the Marineford Miracle. This is the moment that truly tests Zoro's memories. Zoro knows this is the event that broke his captain, and there is absolutely no way he's going to let it happen again. His master plan is surgical. Step 1. He recruits Boa Hancock early, promising to help tear down the Celestial Dragons in exchange for Impel Down access. Step 2. Once in the prison, he coats his swords in advanced armament hockey, creating a barrier that neutralizes Magellan's deadly poison, completely bypassing the near-death experience Luffy originally suffered. And Step 3, they reach level 6 and secure Ace's freedom 3 whole hours before the war even truly begins. The contrast here is just staggering. I mean, we all remember the heartbreak of the original canon, right? Ace dies, Luffy is shattered, and the crew is separated in total despair. But in Zoro's do-over, because Ace is freed early, there is no hostage for the Marines to leverage. Zoro and Kuina hold the front line against the Admirals. Whitebeard enters the fray 90% healthy because he isn't forced into a desperate suicide mission. Ace is safely rescued. The greatest tragedy of the pirate era is completely rewritten. And then, Blackbeard arrives. Teach shows up to Marineford expecting to easily kill a weakened Whitebeard and steal his fruit. But instead, he's met by an endgame Roronoa Zoro who knows every single one of his dirty secrets. Zoro intercepts him with a technique that is absolutely devastating, King of Hell Dragon Damnation. By using advanced Conqueror's Haki to coat his blades, Zoro entirely bypasses Blackbeard's darkness absorption. And because Blackbeard's fruit forces him to feel double the pain, the sheer shockwave of this endgame strike instantly liquefies Teach's internal organs, basically executing him right on the spot. With Marineford completely flipped on its head, we enter Section 5, the ultimate triumphant finale. Here in the New World, Zoro has to make some vital strategic decisions for his crew's future. Following a 2-year training time skip where Zoro and Kuina perfect their skills alongside Mihawk, Zoro realizes something super crucial. If he solves every single problem, his crew is never going to grow. He has to occasionally hold back, so he deliberately leaks intel and steps back during key moments. He stays completely out of the way, so Usopp is forced to take that high-pressure, impossible shot on Sugar and Dressrosa, which perfectly awakens Usopp's observation haki. In Whole Cake Island, he absolutely blitzes lower-tier threats like Cracker and Smoothie in minutes, but he intentionally leaves Katakuri to Luffy. He wants to ensure his captain gets pushed to the absolute brink to awaken future sight. He's letting them evolve into the Yonko-tier crew they were always meant to be. All of this careful planning ultimately builds up to Wano. When Kaido and Big Mom push the Alliance to the absolute brink on the rooftop of Onigashima, it really looks like hope is fading. But then, the horizon just explodes with fire. Because of the butterfly effect Zoro created, this massive, unconventional allied force arrives. You've got the Straw Hats, Kuina, Marco, the Whitebeard remnants, and leading them all, a living, breathing Park Ace. They charge in to turn the tide right when the world needs it most. And this incredible arrival completely changes the context of Luffy's ultimate transformation. In the original timeline, you'll remember Gear 5 was born out of a near-death loss. But here, Luffy looks up and sees his big brother. He sees the Whitebeard remnants charging in to protect his family. He realizes he isn't fighting alone in the dark anymore. That pure, unbreakable relief, that absolute joy, is the exact spark that instantly triggers the drums of liberation. His legendary Gear 5 awakening happens right there, and it's stronger than ever, fueled by joy and family rather than just pure desperation. Kaido and Big Mom fall. Wano is freed. And because Zoro orchestrated their growth while also fiercely protecting their hearts, every single Straw Hat set sail at their absolute peak. When they finally reach Laugh Tale, there are no shadows hanging over them. There are no painful sacrifices they have to mourn. It is just a voyage of pure joy. Alongside Kuina, Ace, and the Whitebeard remnants, they effortlessly claim the One Piece, uncover the true history of the world, and achieve absolute, undeniable victory. It's just a fascinating look into how one tiny shift, like saving a friend on a staircase, can completely rewrite the history of an entire world. It really makes you think about the butterfly effect of our own lives. If you woke up tomorrow in your childhood body, but with all the hard-earned wisdom you have today, what tragedy would you rewrite first? Let that sink in. Until the next explainer, keep asking the big questions.